Next up, Pamela Fulmer. Pam is with Tactical Law. Pam is a rare breed in this software asset management world, and it's awesome as she brings a legal expertise to the software audits, software renewals, software asset management as a whole. I thought of her with this t-shirt, software audits, a ploy by software publishers to increase sales. I know that Pam will get a kick out of this as that is so true. Please voice your appreciation for her, and she has a lot of valuable things to say. And we thank you once again for.
Oh, my name is Pam Fulmer, and I'm an attorney with Tactical Law Group. And we are a boutique law firm in San Francisco that focuses on a lot on licensing disputes. A lot of our cases involve Oracle or Quest or other publishers that are known for aggressive software audits. And today, we are going to discuss software audits and kind of talk to you generally about how to prepare for an audit, what to do when you get the audit, what could trigger an audit, and some strategies for fighting back on predatory software audits. Um, and I don't know if people have experienced an audit. It is often my clients seem a little shell shocked having gone through an audit. And if I get retained basically, after the audit report has issued, then I basically spend my first meeting with the client trying to, almost like a therapist, trying to calm them down because it's been such a brutal experience for them. So, software audits are definitely something that you want to prepare for before you get hit with the audit notice, because once the audit notice drops, it's really too late to do that preparation. And so you ask, well, what can I do? Well, the first thing that you need to do is try to understand your contractual rights. And a big part of that is to collect your license, the actual licenses, the ordering documents, maintenance and support agreements, all of the contracts that exist with that software publisher, so that you have them on hand and can basically be prepared. I can't tell you how often when I get retained, the client doesn't have all the documents because oftentimes they're documents that are just downloaded from the internet when you sign a license agreement or when you agree to a click-through agreement. And unfortunately, oftentimes people don't have a regimen in place where they have a procedure where those documents immediately get downloaded and filed in a central repository. So if you don't have such a procedure in place, you should implement that and make sure that that people are downloading those agreements and filing them away. And that, by the way, also includes downloading and filing away any hyperlink document in the agreement. That's important too. So that's the first thing, assemble all the documents and then basically read the documents and they'll be very complicated. Okay. So, but definitely read the audit clause, and get a sense for what obligations that you have. And then, when you actually, um, get the audit notice, there will end up being things that are focused on, in the audit. And so, you can actually then even refine your focus a little bit, at that time. Now, one thing that's really important is this is the time to actually conduct your own pre-audit. And I actually recommend that, at the very least, have your internal team under the direction of your legal department performing the pre-audit. But you can also retain outside consultants under the direction of your legal team, who can help you do a pre-audit to try to understand if you have compliance issues, and if you do, then how to remediate those. And, so you will basically, get into compliance. Um, and another thing that is really good for you to do is gather all of the previous audit correspondence that you might have. Oftentimes, in resolving a later audit, you're able to go back to representations that were made in resolving a previous audit, and you're able to say, "Hey, look, auditors, you're now saying this in your final report that we owe, but this is how you told us to do it, and here's the email that shows it, and here's what you told us to do at that time. We did, and now you're here taking the position that we're non-compliant, but we're following your directions." So, and then there are other good tidbits that could be in there. So you really do want to make sure that you have all that audit correspondence handy. Um, you also want to assemble your audit team, and basically, figure out who's going to be the key point of contact, and who will be on, the technical side, the business side, and what works for your organization, and get those folks in place so that when inevitably the audit notice does happen and it drops, you're ready to go. And also, if you don't have your own legal department, or sometimes even if you do, you may want to consider retaining outside counsel, such as tactical law, such as myself, to assist you, in this process, and get you in a compliance position, where you're ready to face an audit. So that's what I would say. It's really important. Prepare, prepare, prepare. Before you get that audit notice, this is the time to figure out your environment, what are your risk areas, and to try to take care of that and get into compliance. Um, Also, people wonder, you know, why am I being audited? I've never been audited before. Well, I've heard more than one expert consultant. I work with a lot of expert consultants in this audit space, say that basically, if you're not being audited by someone like Oracle, it may mean that you're actually paying Oracle too much money, and they don't want to rock the boat. It's when you're not paying Oracle what they consider to be enough money, they say, that will cause, an audit to happen. But there's other things as well. And if any of these things are about ready to happen or just happened, you should know that your company could be, in line for an audit. Basically, if the company is expanding, say that there's been a big merger or acquisition, or, a lot of employee growth for some reason. Um, it appears from what I can see that these software publishers do a good job of researching the company and keeping their eye out on something like M&A activity. So if you have had a merger, don't be surprised if you're going to get an audit. Um, Another reason is poor internal controls. So, for example, a failure to meet a reporting requirement. So, if your license agreement requires that you report something annually and you don't do it, and you miss that deadline, that could trigger an audit. Another one that we see is one of your employees requests training for software that you're not licensed for. And that's a big red flag. They'll jump on that, because unfortunately, there's so much software out there and I think publishers do this on purpose to make it really easy for it to be downloaded and put on your work system. And it's hard to control that. And then if somebody is actually not authorized by the company to do that, but they go out and do it anyway, the company could be on the hook for complying with that license agreement. So then if they download software that their company's not licensed for and they request training on it, that's a huge red flag and you could get an audit notice. Another one along the same vein is support tickets for unlicensed programs. That's a big red flag. Um, Other things that can trigger an audit, other outside events, the sales team. The sales team is the one, no matter what they tell you, they'll point the finger at the audit team, LMS or Glass in the case of Oracle. But in reality, from what we can see, it's actually the sales team. And if the sales team doesn't believe that you're buying enough software, it's almost like they just walk across the hall to the audit team and say, audit them. And then they use those audits to make a lot of money. Um, Another type of event that could cause your company to be audited is if a private equity firm buys, your software publisher. That happens all the time, and that could cause, you know, the audit philosophy to change. Um, Another uh, thing that could cause more audits is even if it's not a private equity firm, if it's a company that actually really likes to monetize its copyrights, and if they acquire your publisher. One publisher that I think we're going to be seeing a lot more audits from going forward is VMware. And that's because VMware was recently acquired by Broadcom. And so Broadcom is known for their aggressive audit strategies. So if you have VMware in your environment, now's the time to figure out and make sure you're compliant, because I think you're going to be seeing some audits coming down the pike not too far away. Um, Another issue is IT changes. If you do a hardware refresh or there's a change in your IT infrastructure, or you have virtualization software like VMware, that could trigger an audit because if you do a hardware refresh, it may be that you're using servers which have many more cores than before, and a lot of software is based on the number of cores. And so that's something that will get the attention of the sales team. Now, there are both formal audits and informal audits. Um, you know, uh, and some auditors, some companies call it a license review instead of an audit, but a license review is an audit. So don't be fooled by it, okay? Um, and like I said, the audits can be formal or informal. And if it's a formal one, you'll know because you'll get an audit notice letter and it'll say, we are initiating an audit pursuant to our agreement, this particular paragraph. Please understand you have so many days to respond. And they will start the audit process. That's the time for you to make sure that you go to your software license to the audit clause. And again, make sure that you're taking whatever time, the contract allows you. For example, Oracle says upon 45 days notice, we can audit you. They'll try to push you to start the audit before the 45 days has elapsed, but you want to actually push back on that and take your whole 45 days. In addition to these formal audits, there are soft audits, and these are by the sales teams. Um, this is happening a lot right now with Oracle in the Java space, and so you really need to watch it. Java software has something in it that can call home to the Oracle mothership and let Oracle know that a certain company at this IP address is using their software. And then that can cause the Java sales team, which is really aggressive sales team over at Oracle, the most aggressive one I've seen, to actually contact your company. And they usually start out by saying, they don't say they're auditing you. They start out by saying that they understand that maybe, you're using Java and they want to help you right size your Java subscription. Or they say, um, we have a really important security patch, and we want to make sure that you have that security patch because it's really important to protect your organization. So they start these conversations, and then the IT department usually, innocently, trying to be helpful, starts giving all this information without there being a formal audit, even without elevating this to the legal department, which you should do. If any software publisher starts asking for information like that, you need to carefully consider what you need to provide, and you should call your legal department, make sure you get their input. But what's been happening in these Java audits is that, the customer starts to innocently, provide this information. And the next thing they know, the conversation goes from friendly to really hardcore. You're non-compliant, you need to pay, and it's usually a huge bill. And companies, frankly, are kind of shell-shocked by it. So don't provide the information. Make sure if they want to audit you, they have to issue a formal audit notice. And make sure that your IT employees know this, that they should not be volunteering a bunch of information to these software publishers. The other thing you want to do, and I kind of touched on this with Oracle, the 45 days and the audit clause, and to take the time, is look at the audit clause. Are there any protections in there for the customer? For example, Oracle's clauses say that they can't unreasonably interfere with your normal business operations. So you want to know what your rights are and what your potential protections are. Um, when the meeting, when the audit kicks off, and if the time for you to respond hasn't run yet, you definitely want to decline those early meetings. And get your team prepared. You also need to agree on the audit scope, because you don't want, scope creeping up over the life of the audit. So you want to talk to the publisher about that and make sure that you're agreed on the audit scope so that they can't, increase that on you, and when you're not suspecting it. It's also possible to say, if it's a bad time, to say, hey, Oracle, or hey, Quest, or hey, Micro Focus, we got this audit notice. We're really super duper busy right now with all of these projects. Is it possible to delay this for 3 months or 6 months? Sometimes they'll do it, sometimes they won't, but it certainly doesn't hurt to ask. Um, Now, what are some of the rules of the roads for these audits? And again, we touched on this briefly. So, one thing is establish your internal procedures and stick to it. Okay. You want to designate one point of contact for the audit. And these software publishers will try to go around that person, over that person, every which way to evade that person. But every time they try that, you need to slap their wrist and point them back to that one point of contact. And all the communications go through that person. You want to keep a record of all communication with the auditors and with any sales personnel about the audit. Keep your emails, take notes of meetings, ask to record meetings. If you are in a meeting and the software publishers or the auditors flash up, a PowerPoint, ask for a copy of it, and take good notes that you keep as to what they're saying. Um, you also want to vet with your outside counsel and their expert consultants what data you should be providing to the auditors. They will often ask for a bunch of information that they're not entitled to and that's not relevant to your usage of their software. And you need to prepare for that, and you need to make sure that that's not happening. Now, with regard to how do you communicate with the auditors, what you find is that all they want to do is get on the phone with you. Okay. And they send you invites to endless meetings. And I think they do that for a couple of reasons. The first reason is they don't want anything in writing that could be used against them. So they would rather tell you these kind of outrageous and take these outrageous positions verbally in meetings so that they have plausible deniability and they can say, oh, I never, we never said that, and so that's important. I think they also like to judge how, nervous you are about the audit so they know how much pressure they can put on you. And also, I think they want to ask you stuff to try to get you to react instantly without having thought through it. And that doesn't help you either. So you want to insist that all communications be in writing, and you want to decline those in-person meetings, and that's really important. And people will say, well, can't I just get on the phone with them? And I say, no, you shouldn't get on the phone with them. Okay. You should keep the communication in writing, and you need to build your records. So you always want any communications to the publisher, the sales, or the auditors to be, professional. Something that if it ended up in litigation, you would be comfortable with a court or a jury reading. Um, and by keeping this all this in written form, you basically are preparing a record that could be very useful for you to show that you were cooperating with the audit in the event of litigation. Um, Also, if they ask for certain information, the auditors ask them why they need that information. If they want to run certain scripts, ask them what the purpose of the scripts is and make sure that you're comfortable running the scripts, because many of the software license agreements don't say that they have the right to run scripts. And oftentimes companies will decline those requests. Um, we talked about the scope of the audit. You need to identify at the outset what programs are under audit, and you need to keep the auditors focused on those programs and not have scope creep. And you probably want to execute an NDA to make sure that your communications are confidential. Although um, sometimes you might not want to do that, because you may want to use some of the communications that the publisher sends you against them in the event of litigation. So I can go both ways on that. Also, many times the license agreements have NDAs, but you certainly don't want the publisher disclosing your confidential information. They really don't tend to, really be wanting to do that, but you may want to have the flexibility to disclose in a court proceeding what they've been telling you. Um, you should also prepare your management that the auditors may escalate internally. So if they're not getting uh, the right response from whoever is the one point of contact, and they don't feel like they're getting all the documents that they want, they'll escalate it to the CTO or to the CFO or to the CEO. And so you need to make sure that those people know that that could happen, know that you're working on the audit, that you have a team assembled, and that if Oracle or Quest or whoever it is escalates to that person, they need to refer them back to the one point of contact and not engage. Um, you also need to prepare management that oftentimes these auditors, when they issue their final reports, um, they contain usually what I call a shock and awe number. And that's a number that, really has no basis in reality, but they put it in there because they want to just freak out the customer so that they scare you into making uh, the purchase of the software. And so it's important that you know, not be cowed by that, and that instead you work with your audit team and your outside counsel and your expert consultants to really figure out, you know, what in there is real and what is not real, and just methodically push back on overreaching claims of noncompliance. You want to brief your management and keep them informed of what's going on with the audit again, so that no one is surprised if Oracle or the publisher tries to escalate. I've talked about creating your record, use your professional tone in the correspondence, ask questions. If the auditors are being unreasonable and interfering with your normal business operations, document that. Control the timing of the communications. Uh, don't you know, let them always control the timings like you're a, you know, trained dog. You want to be reasonable, you want to cooperate, but don't feel like you have to get back to them that day or even the next day. You want to keep the cadence of the communications um, as such that you're not jumping through their hoops. Um, if they try to say in writing that you're actually delaying, you want to push back on those allegations of delay, and you want to keep everything in writing. You don't want to waive any rights, and use previous writings as ammunition, such as what I said earlier, which is, you know, um, correspondence that may be from a previous audit. So once you get the audit report, that can take a couple of different forms. There could be an interim report, which is like maybe a draft report, and they provide that to key stakeholders. It's got the shock number in there, and they put it out there kind of to see how you react. You want to begin to push back immediately on the shock number, and you want to make clear that you dispute the results. I've had multiple clients where Oracle or another publisher has said, hey, you know, we gave you this report, we delivered the report, you sat in a meeting and you never objected. We thought you agreed. So you want to make it clear in a professional way that you're going to look at their report, you're going to analyze the results, but that you do dispute the report. Um, what we found is, and then after the interim report, they could issue the final audit report. I've never seen one that wasn't riddled with errors. You want to request that the errors be corrected, and you want to conduct your own assessment. You conduct your own assessment with your legal team and your internal team. You carefully analyze the reports. You refuse demands for calls and meetings. They're really gonna, the publishers are really gonna try to get you on the phone. And again, they wanna see how they're impacting you. You know, and you don't want that. You don't want them to see that. You don't want them to see you in disarray or to smell the fear or, you know, any of that. You want to keep it in writing, keep it objective, um, and continue building your record. Um, and again, you want to prepare management for all the reasons that we've mentioned before. Then, after you've prepared your pushback, when you know what your real true exposure is, and take your time to get there. Okay. They may say you only have 30 days and everything, but usually, as long as you're engaging in discussions, they'll be fairly reasonable. Um, then you negotiate your audit resolution. It's good to know when a fiscal or quarter end for the publisher is, because you can exploit those ends to try to get a better deal, because they're really motivated to try to close a deal. And you'll find that, and especially year end, that you get the best deals then. Ignore their ultimatums, the foot stamping, you know, all that. Keep it professional. They're always going to say that the proposal will be off the table if you don't accept it by a certain time. You better accept it. The discounts are going to go away. Um, I've never seen that to really happen. The discounts always come back and they're usually better. So, don't let them control you like that. Don't be afraid to escalate to the Oracle legal department. The sales teams absolutely hate that because it takes the process out of their hands. But frankly, the Oracle legal department, they're made up of really smart, competent lawyers who understand risk, and they are much more likely to be able to help you to resolve the dispute than the sales team. And then you negotiate the resolution. Usually audits are resolved by an ordering document where you order more software. And also, you want to negotiate a closed letter to make sure that it's clear that, uh, you know, by making those purchases, even though you don't agree that you were out of compliance, but nonetheless, by making those purchases, you're resolving any concerns from the audit, and the audit is closed. So that's basically the process in a nutshell. I hope that you find that helpful. And audits are hard. Audits are ubiquitous, and audits are just going to grow. So if there's any time that you receive an audit notice or a soft audit or just an inquiry, and you need to talk to somebody who has a lot of experience in this area, we'd be happy to talk to you. Again, my name is Pam Fulmer, and I thank you very much for your time today. Bye-bye.
Thank you once again, Pam, for sharing your expertise with us. It is valuable expertise. Please reach out to Pam with ways that she or Tactical Law can help you and your organization. Now, a word from our sponsor, Service Management.
Is your asset management program, or CMDB, sick? If your asset management program, or CMDB, is not healthy and you want to get either of them checked out, Service Management Leadership will diagnose the issues. We will provide you with a free initial consultation and assessment. The short assessment includes a review of your metrics and tools. This includes what you are measuring and why, plus your tools and integration. A meeting with stakeholders to understand their needs. Most issues originate from unstated or unmet stakeholder expectations. We will ask the right questions. We will then summarize our findings at a high level and give you a proposal that discusses next steps. What makes service management leadership different than most consultancies you encounter is a holistic approach that comes from being in the industry for a few decades. Yes, decades. Our founder, Jeffrey Tiefertiller, began in the asset management industry in May of 1994. Our approach includes an end-to-end understanding of your processes. The holistic approach also includes an understanding of your current state tools and what you want to accomplish. The most important aspect of our holistic approach is the alignment of activities to the needs of stakeholders. Every action or effort that is not aligned to what your stakeholders need is wasted. Our approach also includes a review of your in-house expertise. Lastly, our approach includes an understanding of your current metrics and reporting and what is needed. If you are not getting the value needed from your asset management program or your CMDB, contact Jeffrey Tiefertiller and our team of experts at Service Management Leadership.